Hey, good evening. Just wanted to keep you up to date. It's I'm almost going back to work. I'm on duty in about 13 hours from now, but I wanted to fill you in on a few things coming from the public, what do you call it, PBS, okay? So this is on the McNeil Lehrer News Hour. And forgive me if I kind of take this as an aside here, but it bears attention to mention this because if you think that the Lehrer News Hour is in any way an independent news source, please listen to this exchange, which Digby documented very well in one of her vlogs. Here's some good news for President Obama. The villagers have decided, and by the villagers she means the Washington Post and the New York Times, that he's getting terrorist policy just right. Dick Cheney and his pals on the right believe in torture and no due process at all, while the far left believes that torture is immoral and everyone is entitled to basic human rights. So the proper course is to split the difference and only rip up half the Constitution instead of the whole thing. Now this is Digby talking, not NPR or PBS or the Lehrer News Hour for that matter. So here's this exchange which took place on the News Hour by Jim Lehrer just the other day. The interviewer was David Brooks, columnist of the New York Times. My main point is that the policy that George Bush had in the second term is very, very close to the policy Barack Obama has now. We have a bipartisan policy on terror these days. If you look at the individual issues of rendition, habeas corpus, the secret prisons, Obama has taken the Bush policy, made some adjustments, mostly minor, and then co-opted it. We have a bipartisan policy. My problem is nobody could admit that fact. Barack Obama can't admit it to the Democratic Party that he took George Bush's policy, and Dick Cheney wants to pretend that Barack Obama has made this great, vast departure so that he can pretend that somehow we're less safe. David Brooks, again. But we stopped torturing people. We stopped waterboarding people in, I think, March or maybe certainly in the winter of 2003. So that's a really long time ago. What happened was, in the first years of the Bush administration, right after 9/11, they did a lot of stuff, but those policies were morally offensive and unsustainable. And people like Steve Hadley and Condoleezza Rice reined them in. And you had an evolution over 2003, 2004, going on 05, 06, 07, and so on, moving away from the policies that Dick Cheney now celebrates to a whole different set of policies, which are close to what Obama celebrates. And I talked to some Bush people yesterday, and they said that Cheney's speech was very familiar to them, and he's been making all those arguments within the Bush White House while he was losing those arguments, and now he's making them publicly. That's all. And so do I think what Obama did very politically astutely, I guess, though not quite honestly, was to pretend that 2002 and 3 and the Bush-Cheney era was the entire Bush era, and it wasn't. And so he sort of had a little political sleight of hand. But the good news is that this is Obama's major accomplishment. That is, first of all, he took some sensible policies the professionals in the field really believed in. And he did something George Bush would never do, which is, A, to build a framework around them so that they're sustainable and coherent, and most importantly, to explain them to people. Bush had this vast evolutionary policy, but Bush didn't care what people thought, so he never explained it to them, and would never admit that he was changing course. Obama explained them and made them credible, and that's a big improvement. This is coming from your public television station. Think about this very long and hard. And unsubscribe from PBS, for heaven's sake. Good night.